Why did the 2017 Power Rangers movie happen? What were they testing with this new movie? What was the real purpose? Was it necessary to make this movie? These are the questions that very few people ask themselves, since they only dedicate themselves to enjoying what the big companies give us and do not think about the possible purpose that the new content may have. Of course, I say possible because sometimes the only purpose is to make more money and only that. Despite this, I believe that the purpose of this 2017 movie was not only to make money, but I think they wanted to do a test with the fans. If we think a little bit, we can realize that after this movie was made is that the rumors of the reboot of the franchise started, so possibly the biggest purpose of doing this project was to see if they could do a reboot. So, the next question we have to ask ourselves is, if this movie was a box office failure, why continue with the reboot? First of all, we must say that it is very likely that the reboot of the franchise was that same movie, but unfortunately, they didn't do things right, and that's why the entire thing failed. Basically, we can categorize that movie as the first attempt for a reboot, and we could see that plane couldn't take off. We all know the reasons why this movie was a box office failure, and I'm pretty sure that the producers of this movie also realized it. This is how you always get success in life. You make the attempt, you fall, you go back, and get up, you try again, and keep insisting until you achieve the goal. I am sure that with this 2017 movie the producers were able to learn many things, and it is likely that they will use some things from this movie to apply them in the new series. We even previously mentioned that we do not rule out the idea that these characters could also be used in the reboot, and although possibly not the main characters, perhaps they are a team that can support the main team of the series. Let's remember that in Power Rangers there are many teams, and it's just that they live in different places. In many battles different teams have had to support each other in order to defeat some powerful villain, and this is something they could also use in the reboot. The difference is that the Power Rangers series has been introducing us to different teams for 30 years, so obviously they had a lot of teams to create different combinations, and in the reboot, this would be very difficult because they are going to start from scratch. When everything starts in the reboot, we won't know if there are many teams already formed on Earth, but because they have to introduce us to one team first, it is very difficult for them to want to combine with other totally unknown teams. It is for this reason that the team from the 2017 movie would be a great option to create a combination between two teams, since the team from this movie is already known. I know this team thing is a bit confusing, but the best way to understand it is knowing that when you have 30 years of history you have more opportunities to create epic moments, since you have many known Rangers and villains as well. What is positive about the reboot is that they can begin to create a connected story in order to form a universe with less historical errors, and that is why adding the 2017 team has to be a very well thought out decision. Let's remember that according to the information on the internet, it is said that the reboot is not going to have any connection with the universe we have known during all this time, and that using Tommy's name has nothing to do with the Tommy we know. We should also remember that the team in the 2017 movie is basically the mighty Morphin, so, if they use this team as part of the reboot, then they would be having a connection to the old universe. If this happens this way, then we could say that there would also be other Power Rangers teams that are the same as the teams we have already met in the old universe, and they just now have a new story. I really don't think this will happen, as then the whole thing wouldn't be a complete reboot, although the reality is that this is almost always the way franchise reboots are. Normally, when they reboot a franchise, we can see that they use the same characters, with the same names and the same elements. The only thing they change are some details of the story, the image style, and improve the special effects due to the time in which the reboot is made. If they use this method for the Power Rangers reboot, then that could mean that there would be other teams such as in Space, Time Force, SPD, and many others. Then the only thing that would change would be the special effects, some story details, and obviously all the actors. There are some things we should analyze about the 2017 movie that could be positive or negative for the reboot, and we should start with the Zords. These alien machines had a horrible design, even though the CGI looked spectacular and the Megazord was also pretty good. It was very sad to see that in a movie that had excellent special effects we were given such a horrible design for the Zords, and it is worse to think that there are other designers that have created such spectacular Zords. Even now, with artificial intelligence we can realize that there are many designs that could have been used, and the biggest problem with those Zords is that the design was not very well understood. Zords are supposed to be robotic animals, but those Zords did not look like animals, but simple robots with many weapons. This is one of the things they can't use in the reboot, and they should take a cue from many other spectacular designs that are all over the internet. The other important detail they should avoid is the costumes, and that is that even though they don't have a bad design, they don't capture the essence of Power Rangers. There are several teams that have the same helmets in which only the colors change, but we all know that the best helmets are the ones in which the team members have a different helmet each. This was a serious mistake they made in the 2017 movie, and although many did not realize this detail, the worst thing is that on many occasions you could see the Ranger's face even though he was wearing the helmet. We know that this was done to have more easy expressions from the actors and maybe try to connect more with the audience, but the reality is that this has never been a problem in Power Rangers. When the Rangers wear the costumes, it gives them a more seriousness, and the audience feels confident that their heroes are full of power. When we see the Rangers without the helmet, we can usually feel that they are not prepared with all the power they need, but when they put the helmet back on, we feel that they already have all the power. It's a completely psychological thing, and this is the mistake they made in that 2017 movie. One very positive thing that this movie had was the styling, and we were recently talking about how important styling is in any production. Possibly, this was one of the things that the producers could have learned from this movie, as they can now understand that Power Rangers has the potential to have a dark style, not only in the story, but also in the image and the special effects. This movie may have been the ultimate test for the producers to realize that the reboot needs to have a dark, wild, dramatic, and even a bit scary style. They also should have learned that Power Rangers always needs to have a lot of action, and that the important things are the battles, the transformations, the costumes, the Zords, and all that Power Rangers essence. Write in the comments the positive things you can use from the 2017 movie for the new universe. Like this video and subscribe to be part of the Power Rangers reboot.